Sending the National Guard into a state without that state's approval, that's a constitutional gray zone. Traditionally, governors control the Guard units unless there's a natural disaster or insurrection. So when Trump says he's deeply troubled and might just send them anyway, what he's really saying is, I'm willing to sidestep state authority if I feel like it. That's not law and order, that's federal occupation. Remember Portland in 2020? Remember federal agents in unmarked vans scooping up protesters? This is the sequel, but bigger. Here's why Trump's doing this. Crime is a political weapon. If you're a conservative, you point to blue cities and say, look, Democrats can't keep you safe, only I can. It doesn't matter that violent crime has been trending down nationally since the pandemic spike. It doesn't matter that the FBI already has partnerships in Memphis. What matters is the image of troops in the streets. That's optics. That's campaign material. And the fact that he's choosing a city like Memphis, a historically Democratic stronghold, as another layup. This isn't just about crime. It's about who gets branded as lawless and who gets to play savior. Let's actually think about Memphis here. You send in the Guard, and suddenly people in vulnerable neighborhoods see soldiers, not cops. That erodes trust in institutions that are already on shaky ground. Mayor Harris warned it could chill freedoms like protesting or even traveling. Imagine being a regular person just trying to live your life, and suddenly your block looks like a military checkpoint. And you know what happens when you mix scared communities with armed troops? Mistakes, misunderstandings, violence, we have seen it before. Trump keeps pointing to Washington, D.C. He says, look, crime went down after the surge there. Yes, crime stats improved, but D.C. is unique. It's not a state, it's a federal governance backyard. You can't copy-paste that model onto Memphis or Chicago or Oakland. It's apples and oranges. And by the way, even in D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser, who originally opposed the surge, said yes, crime dropped, but she is still cautious because she knows this is a slippery slope. So now the country is split. One side says if crime is high, send in the troops. The other side says that's not the military's job, and it risks turning America into a police state. And in the middle, millions of Americans who just want safe neighborhoods without Humvees patrolling their streets. So here's the bottom line. Memphis does have a crime problem. Nobody's denying that. But deploying the National Guard isn't a cure. It's a band-aid dipped in gasoline. It sets a precedent that the president can militarize American cities whenever he wants. Today it's Memphis. Tomorrow it could be Chicago. Next week, who knows? So the real question isn't whether this will lower crime. The real question is, do we want a future where the federal government can send troops into your city against your mayor's wishes anytime it decides you're deeply troubled? Because that's not public safety, that's occupation. And history tells us once you normalize occupation, it doesn't stay in Memphis, it spreads everywhere. If you care about this issue, don't just watch it and play out on cable news. Pay attention to what's happening in your own city, your own state. Because whether you live in Memphis or not, this debate is about all of us.